This is for Year 11 Methods, Exercise 6C. I'm going to talk about factorization by inspection and factorization by long division. Now, the shortcut way is to factorize a cubic by inspection. So we'll look at 5a first. We write that as p of x equals 2x cubed plus x squared minus 2x minus 1. Remember how we look at the last constant term to get an idea of what factors might work. So values to sub in might be plus or minus 1. So let's try p of 1. When we sub in p of 1, we get 2 plus 1 minus 2 minus 1. That happens to equal 0. Good, it works. So it means that x minus 1 is a factor. Now with the factorization by inspection method, we do the factorization by inspection. So what I mean by that is, we know by expanding, the only way to get an x cubed term is if we times it by, if we times x by 2x squared, because x times 2x squared gives me 2x cubed. We also look at the constant term. We've got a negative 1 here, we've got a negative 1 there, so negative 1 times positive 1 must equal negative 1. The tricky part is when we look at the negative 2x term. Let's just say, well, I want a negative 2x there, so how do I actually get that? Well, first of all, we need to see what the existing terms contribute to the x term. So the only existing contribution right now is 1 times x, which is positive x. Now our goal is to get a negative 2x. So we need a negative 3x to give me a negative 2x at the end as a result. So the other contributor to the x term would be the negative 1, because we usually have an x term here. So negative 1 times what gives you negative 3x? Negative 1 times positive 2x, positive 3x would give me, positive 3x would give me negative 2x when I add them together. So positive x here and negative 3x there. So positive x, negative 3x gives me negative 2x. Now remember, we have to check whether our factorization actually works by looking at the x squared term. So we'll look at the contributors to the x squared term. Negative 1 times 2x squared is negative 2x squared, and the other contributor is x and 3x. X times 3x is 3x squared. Negative 2x squared plus 3x squared equals 2x squared, and that's exactly what we have. So this factorization is correct. Now the next step is obviously to factorize the quadratic. So we know that the discriminant is 3 squared minus 4 times 2 times 1, and we know that's greater than 0. So there are solutions to this. Using cross products, we can tell that this is 2x and x has to be plus 1 plus 1. And that should give us our answer. So for 5D, exercise 5, question 5D, we've got x cubed minus 21x plus 20. Now, hopefully, when we look at the factors, there are many possible factors for 20. We've got plus or minus 1, plus or minus 2, plus or minus 4, plus or minus 5, plus or minus 10, and plus or minus 20. Hopefully we do not have to go through the laundry list of potential factors. So I'm going to hope that p of 1 works. Let's see. So 1 minus 21 plus 20. Yes, that happens to be equal 0, so it works. So we know that x minus 1 is a factor. Now, we need to, again, if I'm doing factorization by inspection, I look at the x cubed term. We've got x cubed, so x times what gives you x cubed? It has to be x squared. look at the constant term. -1 times what gives you positive 20? It has to be -20, because -1 times -20 gives you positive 20. Now, I need to find what contributes to the x term, and what our goal is. We want to get a -21x. So the contributors to the x term are the -20x, because x times -20 is -20x. So far I've got -20x. We want to get a -21x, so we have to the other contributor must be a -x. So we've got a -1 here. We'll know that this times the middle term must give you an x term, and we want a -x, so that must be a positive x, because -1 times x is -x. So that will result in my -21x. Again, we need to check for our x squared term, whether it gives us 0x squared. We don't have x squared term in our original equation. So when I check for my x squared term, I've got a -x squared, and I've got a positive x squared. That gives me 0, and we don't have a x squared term, which is in agreement with what we found. So then I factorize this using cross products. So that's x. So we know that that has to be positive 5 and -4, because we have a positive number in the middle. And that's how you factorize by inspection.